Okay, everyone. So I was thinking about how each week when I finalize our expenses and how they compare to our budget, that there's sometimes that we do come in under budget and have a little bit of money that wasn't used on the categories that it was budgeted for. And in the past, that money would just have kind of become available to spend on anything, and we wouldn't really put much thought into where it was going to go. It would just be like, oh, we came in under budget, so we have this money, and it would just kind of go away on who knows what. And I was just thinking about this when I was updating my budget last week, and thinking that this would be a good topic to talk about, because what we do now is that now I really think about where that money should go. So I was thinking about how much of a difference it can make in your budget to have little short-term things to save for when you find little bits of extra money here and there. So these don't have to be things to achieve financial goals. Of course they can be if that's what you're trying to do when you want to take every little bit that you can find and put it towards certain goals. And that's fine too, because you're still making decisions on where that money's going. You're not just, saying, oh, we're under budget and then just doing whatever happens to happen with it. But if you're not going to put it towards financial goals because you feel like you're making all the progress you need to on those, and you want to be able to maybe use this money on some other little things, sometimes you can use those extra little dollars on things that you might need to spend your money on outside of what you're already putting aside on a regular basis. So it really just goes back to being intentional with your money and making a choice at the end of the week what you want to do with any budgeted money that wasn't spent. It's really just about having a plan for it, whether that is paying down extra debt, adding to your emergency fund, or putting aside for some little things that I'm going to talk about in this episode. So you want to pay attention to the things that you sometimes want but don't always have a budget for. So I feel like we're already being pretty intentional on our long-term financial goals. If we are already being intentional with our long-term financial goals, that it's okay to put some of that money aside that you might have budgeted for on weekly spending and didn't wind up using towards some other things. And I'm not talking about large amounts of money. I mean, if you had budgeted $1,000 for a car repair and didn't wind up needing it, I would say reallocate that to your major goals. Pay down debt, put it in savings or retirement or something, big. What I'm talking about here is, say at the end of the week, you update your expenses to your budget and it turned out you didn't wind up needing gas this week because maybe you just didn't have to drive that much or whatever. And you have an extra $40 in this week's budget. So instead of just letting whatever happened to that money, think about what you'd like to do with that $40. So like what I do is I have different little things that I kind of save for, but they're not like your typical savings. Like it's gonna, at the beginning of the year, you're gonna be like, okay, I'm gonna put aside this much money to save for, this vacation, or to save for a car, or, they're not like things that you really like in advance, long-term think that you're gonna save for. I kind of call these just kind of like little short-term things that you might want to save for, and they're not, it's things that if you don't save for them, it doesn't matter, but if you have a little extra, maybe you can put aside a little bit for these things. So some of the things that I like to save up for are things like K-Cups for our Keurig machine. So we have a regular coffee maker. The K-Cups are kind of like a treat for every once in a while. So if I have maybe $5 or $10 extra in a week, I might say, okay, I'm going to put a little bit, maybe I'll put $5 aside into our K-Cup budget. And then next time I need to buy a restock of those, then I'll look and see, I'll be like, oh, cool, I have $20 set aside now for that, and I can use that money, and it doesn't affect my current week's budget. I also put aside for things like taking the kids to Trader Joe's. So don't ask me why, but my daughters sometimes are like, can you please take us to Trader Joe's? They love to go there. It's not somewhere I shop on a regular basis, but the girls ask me sometimes to take them there, and they like to pick out some snacks, and they just have some different things there, I guess, that you can't get other places. So they like to try out different things, or they'll hear about some snack or drink that people are getting there. And it is groceries, basically. It's kind of like snacks and drinks and things like that. but it's not part of my regular grocery budget. So every once in a while, if I have a little bit of extra money, I might set aside $5 or $10 into like that bucket. Again, that way, maybe once a month, if they ask me, maybe I have $25 or $30 set aside, and I'll say, okay, you guys can pick out a few things up to this dollar amount. Also, something like having a pizza night. If we end up having a crazy day and I can't cook, it's nice to have a little bit of money set aside to be able to order pizza or something like that, because I definitely don't really budget for eating out. But if I do have a little bit extra and I could stick aside a few dollars for something like that, it's nice to have it there if you need it. Also, family fun. This is kind of general, and I just call it like the family fun money. But say if maybe we're out and the kids ask for ice cream, or maybe they want to rent a movie on Amazon or get a drink at Starbucks. Now Dunkin' Donuts seems to be their new favorite, but either way, it's just kind of like a little family fun bucket of money that can be used towards any of those little things that, you know, the family or the kids might want to do, or maybe we're out walking around somewhere and we decide we want to get a snack or whatever. So I stick aside for that, you know, little bit for that. And then, you know, these are just kind of like those little occasional treats that don't cost too much, but that I don't really like to use our regular weekly budget for. So it's nice to put a little aside for things like this when I can, because, you know, they're kind of optional. And I know in theory I am using our weekly budget for these things because I'm taking extra from the weekly budget and putting the money aside. But it's after the fact. I'm not budgeting in our weekly budget to buy K-Cups or to get these extra little things. It's just if after everything else that we needed was done and we didn't need to spend money on certain things, then I can say, okay, let me, and I'll do it in like little allocations. Like say if I have like $30, I might be like, okay, I'm going to put $5 into the pizza night account. I'm going to put $10 into family fun. Or if I just maybe spent all the K-Cup money and I need a little bit more in there, maybe I'll say, okay, I'm going to put $10 there, but I'll put $5 in Trader Joe's because I already have a good amount there. So it's just kind of like thinking about where you want that money to go. And it's kind of fun. Like, I don't know. I think it's kind of fun to have, like, if you have a little bit of money and you can kind of think like, okay, where do I want this to go? And what do I want to save this for? So, yeah, so I just think it's a really good idea to have those little things and think about each dollar that you didn't spend and figure out what you want to put it aside for. Then there's always that miscellaneous fund that I always try and add to when I'm looking at all these little places that I might be able to stick a little money aside for. And this is for those random things that we need to purchase that we weren't really planning on specifically. So an example of some of these things, I looked through my Amazon account just to kind of see like what random things came up that I didn't budget for that I wound up pulling from that miscellaneous fund that I kind of put a little bit aside for here and there when I can. So this would cover some things like a new phone charger, new chip clips, because ours magically disappear over time. I don't know what happens to them, but they just kind of go. I needed a new storage bin because I was keeping our Easter decorations in a plastic bag and it just wasn't working out well, so I had to order a new storage bin. I needed to order non-slip furniture pads for our new, well, not new, they're secondhand, we bought them off Facebook Marketplace, but new to us couches. They had been sliding all over our family room floor on the hardwood floors, so I needed to buy little furniture pads to stick on the bottom to stop it from sliding. I needed to buy some new food storage containers because we kept running out of a certain size too quickly. So like all those random little things that when you have to buy them in a week and you don't have a, you know, you didn't plan for them, it can wind up taking out like a big chunk of your budget. And then if everything else was on budget that week, now you're over. So that's why whenever I can, I try and stick aside a little bit for these different things. And the miscellaneous category is one I always try and kind of put a little bit into first, especially if it's running low or I know I've used a bunch of it. It's definitely nice to have a little bit of money aside for when these little things come up so that you don't have to worry about using up other funds that you had budgeted for other things during the week. And like I said, you can split it up however you want. You know, $5 here, even like $2 or $3 here, $10 there, whatever, whatever makes the most sense to you, and depending on what you already have saved. Like say you already have a bunch saved for miscellaneous and you're like, well, you know what, that's a pretty good number. I think I'm going to put a little bit more towards the family fund this week, or whatever categories you decide to save for. So, sometimes it's even just a matter of adding more to next week's budget. Like maybe you don't want to save for any of these things specifically because maybe like say for example, you had spent a low amount of groceries this week. Some weeks you wind up where you don't need to spend that much on groceries. At least I do. I assume most people do, but who knows? For whatever reason, maybe you still had meat left over, like that was frozen, and you don't need to buy meat this week, so that saves a lot. And then maybe you had some canned goods already, so you're just kind of filling in some stuff that you need for the week. So if you come in under budget this week on groceries, sometimes what I like to do is just take that money and put it into next week's grocery budget to bump that up. So then maybe when I'm at the store, if there's some things I want to buy that aren't part of our regular budget, maybe like some frozen snack type things that are just nice to kind of have around, or I don't know, like maybe a special snack or drink or something that I wouldn't normally get, or just to stock up on other things. Like what I usually like to do is if I have extra money in my grocery budget, I'll stock up on things like dish detergent or laundry detergent or paper towels or toilet paper or things like that I know I'm going to need, and that they're kind of higher priced items because I buy like the bulk packages. So, maybe I'll grab some of those, or shampoo or conditioner or things like that. So even if you think you're already budgeting for things like this, it's always nice to have something a little extra set aside for something. Like there's got to be something that you want to do with that money, rather than just say, oh, well, I came in under budget, and then just kind of spend it on whatever. So that's what I just wanted to talk about, just really thinking about anytime you find that you came in under budget, really making a decision on what you want to do with that money, and see if maybe there are some of these little things that you might want to save up for. Like it can be little fun things like I was talking about. If you're already achieving your goals and you're setting benchmarks and you're saving and you're doing all these things and paying off debt or saving your emergency fund or whatever goals you're working on, I don't know, to me, I think it's okay to take little bits of that budget that might be left over and put them towards things that are important to you, and that might make your life a little bit more fun by getting these fun little things that aren't super expensive, but maybe you could just set a little bit of money aside for, so that you don't feel guilty about buying them if you do choose to, because you already stuck a little bit of money aside for it. So just kind of think about, when you do have your weekly budget, or even anything, like if any little extra money comes in, I don't know, maybe you get a gift from someone, or you get a rebate back on something you bought, or I don't know, every once in a while you get like that little extra money that will come around, hopefully, and, whether it's from being under budget or maybe you got a gift or whatever, just kind of really think about, are there any little things you can put money aside for that will be nice to have, that aren't like those really big goals, but they're more just like little short-term things where you might want to spend a little bit of money and not have to take it out of your weekly budget. So I hope this was helpful. That's it for today. Thank you so much for listening. And if you'd like to reach out to me with any tips or suggestions or comments, you can reach me at facebook.com/lolasfrugallife, or you can email me at lolasfrugallife@gmail.com. We also have a private listeners group, which is at facebook.com/groups/lolasfrugallife. It's a really great group. I'd love to have you join us. There's a really nice bunch of people in there, and I really love seeing it grow. So if you submit a request to join, I will admit you as soon as I see that request, and I usually do check it daily, so you'll get admitted to the group pretty quickly. So yeah, I would really love to have you do that. Also, if you are interested in leaving me a rating or review, that would be really, really helpful to me. It's supposed to really help in having the show come up in search results. So if you could do that, that would be great. And also, if you enjoy this show, please don't forget to subscribe. That way you'll be notified when new episodes come out. And that's it for today. Oh, I do also have a YouTube channel. I keep forgetting to mention this. It's it's really just the podcast. I'm just letting you know in case you're looking for another place to listen that might be more convenient to you. Maybe if you're, I don't know, just in the house, and I don't know why your phone wouldn't be convenient, but if you wanted to put it on the TV and just listen while you're walking around or whatever, it's categorized, by episode type. So it's kind of neat in that way. But it's just a picture of the podcast logo, and it's just words. So it's not like a video. It's played as a video, but it's not like, anything different really than this podcast. But what's kind of neat is that you can comment on there, which I wish you could on here. Like, I wish people could comment on the episodes. But if you join the private listeners group, you can talk about the episodes if you have ideas you want to share or things you want to talk about. So anyway, so that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a really awesome day.